Well, hello, my friends. All right, we're a little bit into January now, January 2026. I think the pretense of the new year is washing away, right? The whole new year, new you energy has passed through our systems at this point. We are back in a regular life, back in a regular cadence, and we're just letting go of this idea that we magically transform into other humans when the year changes over. But that doesn't mean that we can't decide that we are going to do things differently this year and to practice it and to honor it and come back to it. Because that is really how we make progress, right? It isn't that we just simply decide that we're going to be people who love kale and CrossFit if we are not people who love kale and CrossFit. And yet, there are so many ways that we could be taking care of ourselves here and now. And I want to invite you into the list that I came up with of things for me for 2026. Now, this is tailored to me and where I am in my life and what I feel is important. And yet, it's also not that granular. And so I invite you as you listen to this list to think about, what am I going to grab here for myself? If the ideas don't resonate with you, great. I promise you, though, there is something here for you that will. And so let's dive in. Here's number one. I will attend to and protect my energy. I've done a lot of reflections on the events of 2025. Some of them I've shared with you, the things that happened in my life. Some of them have been events in the world. But we've all been through, let's just say, a very challenging year. And if you listened to last week's episode, we talked about looking back at 2025 as an exercise, seeing ourselves as the hero of our journey, right? That was one of the activities that we spoke of. If you didn't listen to that episode, go ahead, plan to go back to that and listen. But in that reflection, I became very clear that part of the reason why 2025 felt so different from what I've experienced before is that the way I approached it was quite different. I faced several challenges that were not things that I expected and definitely not things that I wanted to happen. But because I had gotten so good at protecting my energy, I was also able to avoid a lot of chaos and to not allow myself to get off track with the things that were important to me. So I was still able to complete the menopause certification that I had wanted to do. I was still able to be exercising regularly and connecting with my husband. Very specific, intentional things. And that ended up making a very big difference in navigating those challenges. Because if I look back at other very challenging years, 2020 comes to mind. Remember this? Those things were not yet in place for me. And of course, I was in a different chapter of my life. I was in a different place in my life. But it's really, truly the things that I have chosen to commit to that help to protect my energy that created a different 2025. And if you have not been thoughtful about that, if you have been feeling like my energy is constantly spilling out, I don't have any control, it's all outflow and no inflow, this is the work to be doing that will make such a difference. I invite you to get started with that. If you need help, reach out. Let's do this together. But that's not the point here. The point is that we each have work to do in helping to figure out how to pay attention to our energy and how to contain it. That means refilling. It means stopping the bleed. We were all taught to put everything in to the bucket to pour into other people. We were all taught that. We were mostly taught the outflow, and we know how that's gone. Now, my friends, in this chapter of your life, whatever chapter that is, you need to also include the inflow and stop the bleeding. Number two, taking care of me is taking care of others. The analogy we always hear, right? Put your own oxygen mask on before assisting others. And yet, how often do we actually do that? We might take care of ourselves in big ways or not. We might take care of ourselves in small ways or not. Both are important. The day-to-day way that you take care of yourself, as well as the big picture way, getting your checkups, if you're mammogram age, whatever those things are, we need to be doing them. And we need to see them as not a luxury, but something that is important to our maintenance. If you are running a very high capacity machine at full tilt all of the time with no brakes, what happens, right? It breaks down. And then that machine can no longer do whatever its job was. Similarly, if you run your own very high functioning machine at full capacity all the time with no brakes, what happens? We break down. We become overwhelmed, exhausted, cranky. We get sick. We get injured. We are not going to accept this anymore. Taking care of ourselves in big ways or small ways is taking care of others, because when I am well taken care of, my ability to take care of others, including my patients, including the people that I work with, including my family, is at the capacity that it needs to be in order to do good work. Of course, will we be able to take care of every single human? Of course we won't. Will we be able to better come to the high quality care that we provide for our families, for our patients, for our staff? Yes, but only if we are taking good care of ourselves, right? We have to see that through line. And if we need to call it, I'm taking care of my family by taking care of myself in order to start doing it because of how we're conditioned, we will do that. Number 3, I'm not going to wait to take care of my own needs. Again, we could do big ways or small ways here. When I need to pee, I'm going to take a break to pee. I'm probably not going to interrupt an appointment to do that, but appointments don't last for forever. If I am in the hospital on rounds in between patients and I need to pee, I'm going to stop and pee. If I'm in the middle of surgery, now you know I'm not a surgeon, right? But if I'm in the middle of surgery and my bladder is angry, I'm going to stop and pee. Until we have some magical catheter system, which I don't think anybody wants, if you're a surgeon and you're wearing a catheter, gosh, there's a whole issue there. We need to take care of our own needs. And again, that means going pee. That means getting your annual checkups, right? It means putting yourself to bed. We need to take care of our own needs regularly and stop this idea that we can't take care of our own needs until everyone else's needs are met. We are done with that era. Now, if you have small children, if you have fur babies, if you have other people who you caregive for at home, you will need to figure out how to take care of your needs interwoven with that. That is very real. You are not going to leave people in an unsafe situation, and you still need to take care of your bladder. We are not going to stop and take a coffee break in the middle of a code. We know that, but we also don't run codes for 8 hours at one time on the same patient. You may be in a specialty where you run a lot of codes on people quite frequently, and there is a lot of work to be done. You will still need to empty your bladder. That's just physiology. We just got to do it. Take care of your own needs and stop waiting. Number 4. This is interrelated, of course, but something particular. I will master my own time. Again, we have different seasons and chapters in our lives, and that is true no matter what is going on for you right now, but it's always been true. And in different seasons or chapters, you have different amounts of time that are being taken by other people. The amount of your time that is dedicated to your training when you are a resident is one example of this. Your free time is limited because of the way that the residency is structured. You may also be in a job where your hours are very dictated, like shift work. You may be salaried and kind of at your own mercy there. You may, again, have small children or fur babies or other caregiving responsibilities that dictate some of your time for you. And yet, the time that you have needs to be mastered. You need to be able to take care of your own needs. You need to be able to see there is more here to do than I can do, and I'm going to choose to master my time by hiring or delegating or bringing other people on board. We are done with this idea that we should be able to do it all in all of the arenas that we could possibly touch. We will need to hire people to help. We will need to hire people to help who are sometimes more skilled than we are in whatever their skill area is. Like, I'm going to hire an accountant. Well, I have an accountant, right? But I don't need to master taxes. If you love doing your own taxes, by all means, and if they're not complicated, feel free. Most of us don't love doing that kind of thing, and we think that we ought to do it ourselves for X, Y, and Z reasons. I have no interest in that. I have let go of that idea. You can let go of it too. If there is a task that needs to be done that requires some knowledge or skill or time, and you could learn to do it, but it's not something that you want to learn to do, please, please pay someone else to do it so that your time can be used in something that you want to do. Sometimes we are also going to be paying people who have less skills than us, right? If you bring somebody in who cleans your house or folds your laundry or does some task that, again, you don't want to spend your time doing, fantastic. I guarantee you that if you look at hourly rates, even if your hourly rate is poor because you are salaried and you're overworking, it will still be financially feasible for you to pay somebody else with a lower skill level who can come and help you out with the things that you do not want to be doing. If you love folding laundry, fine, you don't need to give that task up. If you hate grocery shopping and you can pay someone to Instacart, do that. Master your time for the season that you're in and figure out, what can I ask someone else to take over for me? That might be delegating, that might be hiring, but this is really important. Let's let go of this idea that we should do it all ourselves. All right, page 2, number 5. We're very analog here today, working on paper. Number 5, I know when and where to speak my mind. You have things to say, you have thoughts to express, you have feelings that you need to process and digest. And we have been told that we need to appear professional and highly trained to appear professional in whatever that means for whatever your specialty and the places that are sort of on stage and off stage. Many of us spend a lot of energy, I'll say complaining for lack of a better term for it, but also maybe not being helpful in the words that we say in the places that we say them. That can translate into unsafe situations, and unsafe at all different levels. So sometimes there is a lack of psychological safety. Sometimes there is a lack of what we'll call job safety and security. Sometimes it's just not helpful to express what you're thinking and feeling in the place that you are. There are thoughts and feelings that I am not going to share with my patients. I'm not going to share them with my staff. I'm going to keep those to myself, but that doesn't mean that I'm wrong to have those thoughts and feelings, and it doesn't mean that I can't find safe and appropriate places to share them. It means that I'm going to be thoughtful about doing that. And yes, we all will make mistakes in that, but knowing when and where is a good place to have conversations and talk through things is an important adult skill. Sometimes we are looking for connection. Sometimes we are looking to be able to mentally and emotionally sort of work through a problem. Know where your safe spaces are. Know that you're not wrong for having those needs for connection or for a way to express what you're thinking and feeling. And let's find appropriate places to do it. Now, I don't say that because I think most of us are being inappropriate. I say that to say that I think a lot of us don't talk enough. And sometimes we'll find ourselves talking in situations that don't reflect well on us. Complaining during a meeting. When I was an employed physician, I did a lot of that, and it earned me a very negative reputation, which of course was not what I was intending, but didn't feel great to me and, probably wasn't that great to be around if I'm totally honest. Knowing what I know now, I can look back and I can say, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where was safe. I had a lot of thoughts and feelings that I didn't know what to do with. Now I know what those things are. I have learned, you can learn, we can all learn and do this together. It's not that those things are wrong. It's that we want to find a safe and appropriate place to do it and, to be able to express ourselves. I think under expression of our thoughts and feelings is part of what is so toxic within medicine. If we don't feel like we can have safe spaces to talk, whether to share our doubts, to discuss patient care, to discuss the emotional experience of caring for patients, if we are told or it's implied that we should be professional and not talk about those things here, it's as though we are being told that we are wrong for thinking and feeling those things, which is not true. But again, we need to find safe and appropriate places to talk. Number 6 feeds in a little bit again, but there is a saying amongst the royal family in Britain. I believe it's never complain, never explain. And I replace that with don't complain, don't explain. The context for this is just saying no. The idea of no being a complete sentence. You will be asked to do things that you don't want to do, that you don't feel are right to do, that aren't fair to do. I want to invite you this year to just say no. You don't need to complain. And you don't need to explain. If you are asked to take on extra shifts and you don't want to because you have already had extra shifts, you have already been pressured into overworking, I would like you to practice just saying no and being willing to feel the discomfort of just sitting in silence rather than trying to explain and argue and talk your way out of it. Just say no. We all could use some practice in getting into the habit of saying no and stopping talking. Inappropriate requests from patients. We can say no. We may need to put some additional words in there. No, that medicine is not appropriate, and here's the reasons why. No, we don't have time to talk about that today. I'd love to have you come back and we talk again. We can practice those conversations, but we aren't going to constantly be scrambling to argue for ourselves. We are going to learn to tolerate the discomfort of saying no and sitting in silence. That is always going to look more decisive and more confident, and we need that. We need to be more decisive and confident. So don't complain, don't explain, just say no. Number 7, aim for delight regularly. I want you to find ways to delight yourself all of the time. It doesn't really matter what that looks like for you. We all need to do more of that. That could be silly things that you have on your desk. I decided that I absolutely needed the party glitter Danskos for my procedure days, so I just bought those. Happy birthday to me. And I decided that obviously I was going to need bright Barbie pink pants to go with it. So on the way to my house rather, are party glitter Danskos because it was time for a new pair, and pink scrub pants, which I will wear with delight on procedure days. I do procedure days several days a month. I'm in scrubs. We all know that the regular old-fashioned scrubs are just not amazing. I decided it was time for me to get some new pairs in a fabulous color, and I'm going to feel delighted when I wear those on those days. That is a very superficial and silly example. It doesn't matter. I am all about finding ways to delight myself, finding ways to feel joy, finding ways to be surrounded by things that I like, finding ways to feel comfortable, having comfortable clothes or a really comfortable nest at home, whether that's your bed or a comfy chair where you can read and decompress. Find ways to delight yourself. One of my clients, I remember she loved playing pickleball with her 8-year-old son because she loved the little plink, 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 plink sound. I wasn't playing pickleball at the time, but since have done a little bit of that with my kids in the backyard, and I am totally on board. I like the sound too. Plink, plink, right? It is just delightful. You deserve to have things that are comfortable, delightful, that bring a smile to your face. So be more intentional about it this year. Do whatever that takes to make that happen. Again, you want to go buy some party glitter dance goes? You can find those so easily. I'm excited. Number 8, I question my own assumptions regularly. Now, I shared with you again in last week's episode, the first week in January of 2026, this reflection activity that I had done where I was asked to create the story of 2025 for myself with myself as the hero of the story. And that was one of many reflective activities that I did, but it broke up some assumptions that I'd been carrying for me in the year. And it just reinvigorated for me the idea of the power of breaking up the things that we carry as assumptions all of the time. There are lots and lots of thoughts that you have in your head right now where you feel very clear, like, this is the way it is. This is the way I have to do things. This is the only right way that things are done. This is the path for me in the future. This is how much money I can make as an X, Y, or Z specialist, right? We have lots and lots and lots of assumptions in our head. We need to question them regularly, not to gaslight ourselves, not to constantly be spewing doubt, but just to really understand where we are limiting our own selves in our own brains. We can do this by having conversations with people who will push us a little bit. You know, that friend of yours who's a little bit more direct than you feel comfortable with, but you can have a respectful debate. Sometimes we can do that online, although obviously lots of time we will not have a respectful debate online. We can do this in coaching. We can do this in therapy, right? There are some dedicated spaces where we can go, where we can have civil conversations that are respectful and inquisitive to really understand ourselves better and to be seen where we are looking at our own limiting beliefs and whether we want to continue that. It's not that challenging. We can be journaling and maybe we rewrite for a bit of time and then we look back and say, wow, I can really see how stuck I am in whatever idea I've just written down. There are lots and lots of ways to do this. Questioning our own assumptions from a place of curiosity, from a place of respect, from a place of growth is absolutely right work to be doing for yourself right now, no matter where you are in your life. Number 9, I do not apologize unless I need to apologize, and then I happily will. If I have said something and I need to apologize, if I've said, done something, whatever, I will apologize. But I will stop saying I'm sorry when it has nothing to do with me and I don't owe an apology. There are times for us to apologize. That's okay. There are times when we can find different words and we can quibble here, but the language matters. If I'm constantly saying I'm sorry for things that have nothing to do with me, and I'm feeling the weight of that, I'm carrying the responsibility of something being off or wrong or not fair or not equitable, that is harming me. If I say instead of, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, but instead say, thank you for your patience. I'm so happy to see you today. There is a different energy, and we can multiply that many times per day. If I kept my patient waiting, and I do keep my patients waiting, not on purpose, but because I'm taking care of someone else. I'm not keeping them waiting because I'm on Facebook. I'm keeping them waiting because I'm finishing up with my last patient, or perhaps doing the note while that's fresh in my brain, or I need to be doing something in the inbox that's urgent that needs to happen now. We assume that our patients think that we are surfing Facebook or eating bonbons or whatever. We can't control what they do and don't think, but we can take ownership of what we are and are not responsible for. Can I work on being more on time? I absolutely can. Can I control the dump of things into my inbox? I absolutely cannot, and neither can you. I won't be sorry that I've been busy providing care for someone else, because when the patient comes in to see me, sometimes they need more than I know that they need. Sometimes they need less. We don't know that before they get there. We can anticipate some things. We can have support to take care of the work. Sure, we can work on our own efficiency, but I will not apologize unless I need to make an apology. And I would argue that if you look to see how often you apologize right now, a lot of the time you do not actually owe someone an apology. So let's start letting go of that energy. Number 10, I detach from medicine regularly. I detach from medicine regularly. Medicine is a calling. Medicine is a critically important service that we provide, and only more so. Although AI can do a lot of things, and we're all questioning what is the role of AI in medicine going forward, and our patients are coming in, they're no longer Googling, they're chat GPTing, right, their symptoms, and that has some power, and yeah, it sometimes thinks of some things that I don't. However, we need us. We need us humans taking care of other humans, and we also need time to be humans ourselves. So I will detach from medicine regularly, and I invite you to do the same. We will detach at hours where we are not at work and we are able to detach. We will work on detaching ourselves mentally and physically. I would love for all of us to get to a space where we take care of people at work. We go home, and outside of extraneous circumstances, we do not log back in. That's the physical attachment that I'm calling here. But the mental attachment, too, is not leaving all the tabs open. If I walk out of my day and 0 notes are closed and I haven't looked at the inbox, but I left, those tabs are all open. We can work on getting better and making progress towards things like getting our notes done so that our mental tabs can close. We can work on that. We can work on saying, nope, I'm not logging in. I'm not logging in right now. This is my time to be eating, sleeping, hanging out with other humans, doing things that are not medical. We can work on taking bigger breaks. Vacations, CME is kind of mixed, right? It's a mix, let's be honest. It's a mix. We can work on having weekends be weekends, but we have to decide I will detach from medicine regularly. Now, people are shouting at me. Well, I'm on call when I'm not at work. Okay, so maybe you're attached to the pager. There are going to be sometimes you're attached to the pager and sometimes that you're not. If that's not the case, we need to re-examine that. I know that there are jobs that cannot fully detach. There are some special circumstances, but for a lot of us, we don't have that. We don't have that pager. We don't have these off-hour responsibilities, and yet we are still mentally or physically attached when we are not physically there. And we need to learn how to undo that. If we take a call every so often, Q3 or weekends or whatever that looks like for you, we can be on during the times that we are physically on call and present in the hospital. We can have some kind of in-between state when we are on pager call. But we will not chronically be donating all of our mental and physical capacity when we are not at work to work. We will learn to detach from medicine. That is healthy for you. It is appropriate for you. We will find ways to do it. That's my list. That's my list of things that I want to invite you to join me on in 2026. I'm going to quickly read back through it, and you can certainly listen to this again if you want to go deeper dive. I will attend to and protect my energy. Taking care of me is taking care of others. I'm not going to wait to take care of my own needs. I will master my own time. I know when and where to speak my mind. Don't complain, don't explain, just say no. Aim for delight regularly. I question my own assumptions regularly. I do not apologize. unless I need to apologize. And I detach from medicine on the regular. That's my list. I share it with you. I'm curious which one resonated with you the most. I'd love to hear from you. You can send me a message. You might come up with your own list. You might steal from mine. It's all okay. I want you to sit down and think, if I was living 2026, having learned what 2025 had to teach me, what would I choose? That's where my list comes from. It is informed by my coaching, and yet it is also just my lived experience as a human doing the work that we do. I invite you to sit down with this list. I invite you to make your own list. I invite you to look back at the lessons from 2025 and how you want to take care of yourself better, how you want to show up for yourself, how you want to bring joy and delight to yourself more regularly, how you want to protect your time, energy, so that you can be the best version of you. Not just you, the doctor, you. If you need help, please reach out. You can contact me directly, Megan at healthier.com, link in the show notes. Be happy to support you and chat. Until next week, take care. I almost forgot. If you're listening to this episode in real time, I just had my birthday. If this podcast has been helpful to you, please leave a rating and a review on Spotify, on iTunes, whatever you're listening to me on. Ratings and reviews, and it has to be both stars and words, help the podcast to be found by other people. If you've already left me a rating and review, share it with someone. Share the podcast with another physician that you know would be helped. Everything that we do together is trying to make our lives better. So pass it on, and happy birthday to me. Until next week, take care.